Hello, welcome to the Elevate Your Wellbeing podcast. It is episode 24, and we are currently in a last quarter moon in the sign of Aquarius. The energy that's starting to roll down and ease and slow down. So if you're not feeling like uber enthused, perfectly normal. It's really interesting to go into the cycles with the moon a bit more, which I will be bringing up a bit more in a topic on the podcast soon. But for now, we're going to go into observing our bodies. The three practices that I love to work with, that I love to teach, that I love to work with and help my clients use to be able to observe how they're feeling in the body, in the mind, and in the soul. So before we dive into our topic for today, you might be grabbing your journal, you might want to take some notes. There will be a journal prompt at the end, as always. Make sure you have some water. And hopefully you have some natural light with you, or near you. You're in some natural light. You're enjoying some natural light rather than man-made fluorescent crappy lighting that really doesn't make you feel great. So Aquarius is a sign of community, connection, friendships, and it's also that awareness of that connection. And I think really this is where the mind body soul connection comes in, because we have that in ourselves. Because how often do you find there's a disconnect? You might be feeling like fairly enthusiastic and energetic in the body, but the mind just can't keep up. Or mentally, like, I want to go, 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 but you just don't feel like you have the energy to do it in your body. And then how you're really feeling in your soul. And, it's honoring, is what you're doing really lighting you up and helping you, or you just going through the motion. The episode a few weeks back on being on autopilot was really key with this. There's a big difference between being on autopilot and being in the flow, and being in autopilot and you're just going through the motions. And when you're really aware of how you're feeling in your mind, in your body, in your soul, having that observer switched on, you can really understand truly how you feel. And I think that is so empowering, because it's so easy to push our self-care to one side, and then we wonder why we feel stuck or miserable or guilty. And all we need is to check in with ourselves. We need to switch that observation back on. And most of the time we have that switched on, but we suppress it because we're like, I know I need to do this. I know I need this for me. But I feel like there's a million other things that needs my attention. And you are important. You deserve that self-care. And there's a really key saying, which is, you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. And we're also happy to hear that and take that on board, whether you've had to do it. I really hope you haven't. But actually on a plane do that. But why is it we're okay with, yeah, that's fine, I could do that first, when we don't realize that we're actually doing the opposite through the majority of our time throughout our lives, day in, day out. Everyone else is getting the oxygen mask first, and then you can hardly breathe. You feel just burnt out and withdrawn. And it really can be as simple as just taking a moment and being in your body, taking a moment and checking in with your mind, being in the moment literally for a minute, and really checking in that on that deep soul level with how you're really feeling. And I honestly feel this is where the practice of yoga really comes back to. It's your observer. Yoga is an observation tool to be aware of how you feel in your body. And yes, there's elements that it comes from this deep line, this historical line. And I'm not dismissing that at all, but realistically, that deep soul knowing for me, this is what yoga is about. This is when I teach yoga, this is what I really want people to come away with, is how does it feel for you in your body? And even earlier today, I was teaching a yoga class and a student asked, should I hold a pose for so long? In different forms of movement. We're told to hold this for 10, or we're told to do certain reps in how we hold and move our body. And I just said, well, what feels good for you? So I demoed specifically to the movement he was asking or referring to. And I was like, some people will like to do this. Some people prefer to do this. And you might be somewhere in the middle. And this is why I always come back to the Goldilocks effect. It's that you will find what's just right for you. But do you know what that is? You got to try it and then find out. And you can do that by observing it, being present. This is where that autopilot comes up. And again, this is mentioned in the class today with how often do we have something like our yoga practice or whatever self-care is your self-care, like a movement practice, like literally can see someone doing it right now. They've just jogged past my window. They're going for a run. And that's amazing if you're doing it because it feels good. Or are you doing these things because it's on the to-do list and you just need to check it off and then you feel good because it's ticked off? You get that dopamine rush, which is not something you need all the time, but we actually need the other hormones released and endorphins that happen in the body because you've really been present in what you've been doing, be it yoga, be it weight training, be it going for a run, whatever it is. And so often, and this is the one huge major takeaway I've had from the last 3 years, is it's really highlighted how much we are a culture of rushing. We rush to grow up. We rush to be an adult and grown up, and then we realize how much that sucks. We rush through our day. We rush to get everything done. We rush to do the whole of the to-do list just to get to the end of the day so we can collapse on the couch and watch Netflix or whatever it is that we do. And I would see that in the yoga studio. I'd see people rush. They're rushing to try and park, and then they're rushing to get to class because they've had to park miles away. And then they're rushing to get their mat out and get their Zen on. And then as soon as the class is finished, if they haven't been present, they're rushing to roll up their mat and go on to the rest of the day and get on to the next thing. And I've even seen someone do this as they've left a retreat, like a whole weekend retreat. And it was like, right, yeah, tick. You've had my time. My time has been allocated to you up until this time. And then suddenly I'm no longer on the retreat. I'm no longer a student and I need to get home. I need to get home as quickly as possible. And they pulled off the driveway like a bat out of hell type of thing. And it really made me giggle. But I really hope there's someone who has, since that happened, been able to be more present in the moment. And like I just said, with regards to if someone hasn't been present in the moment, I can really see it. They're literally there going through the motions. They're doing the yoga because it's on their to-do list to do. And then they can go, oh, well, I did yoga. I did my relaxation. I'm done. But they haven't allowed themselves to be present. And I do see the difference of people that rush in and rush to roll out their mat and then they really land. And they're usually the people that leave the class last because they're just so in the moment. They're really aware of how their body's feeling. And we've referred to this on a retreat before of you're marinating in those lovely yoga, juicy vibes of, oh, I don't want to go into the rest of the day because it may be madness and bedlam and just hectic because we're not aware of how we can manage our time. And that's a topic of conversation for another time. But it really, really, really is huge. So whatever you're doing, are you doing to do it to get it off your to-do list? So you're not really giving it your all, you're not really being present with it. And that could be with anything. So that could be your movement practice, that could be any type of self-care or anything else that's on the to-do list to do. You're doing it for the sake of doing it, to get it done. Or are you allowing yourself to be present? Are you allowing yourself to switch on that awareness of how it really feels to be in the body, to be with the breath, to be with the thoughts going on in your mind? And then as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about on today's podcast episode, this is what really came up for me was yoga for me is more that awareness in the body. And then we have those other two aspects, don't we? Because it's mind, body, soul. So if yoga is more for your body, journaling really is for the mind. If you're stuck in that monkey mind and you're not releasing it, any form of journaling, and just like yoga, there are multiple practices. So you can find what feels good for you. So like you might prefer restorative yoga. You might prefer to use all the props in the world or no props at all. You might like to go with vinyasa flow or ashtanga or a hatha flow or hot yoga. There's so many different types of yoga. And it's the same with journaling. So you might not be able to pull apart your thoughts. So you need prompts to help you. Maybe you work with a gratitude practice. So you know, right, what am I grateful for today? You could list 1 thing, 3 things, 10 things, and then why you're grateful for them. You could just brain dump. And this is a beautiful practice to do either at the start of your day or the end of the day, or you might benefit from both of those. And you literally just write out, you could do your morning pages, as this is known in the artist's way, where you write out 3 pages. Or you could quite literally set a timer, 1 minute, 5 minutes, however long you would prefer. Could be longer, could be shorter. And just write down whatever is on your mind. And it just helps you because you don't have to have all these million tabs open thinking, right, I need to remember to do that. And then I've got to do that. You've written it down and you have that list. You don't always have to go back to it, but it's no longer in your mind. You've brought it out on the page. So it helps you to really understand and observe and become aware of how you're feeling in your mind. And then for the soul, for me, this really feels like meditation because it really allows you to go into that deep relaxation. Yoga Nidra is beautiful for this. And there are only 3 ways that you can practice Yoga Nidra with me. And that is right here on the podcast. If you become a paid subscriber and you get a monthly Yoga Nidra practice with me every single month, and that's only $7.99. And my intention with that is to have a weekly episode specifically for that paid subscription. So every single week, so for less than £2 or whatever that is in your currency, less than £2 a week, you will get an episode a week with me. So one of them will be the Yoga Nidra. We have the Astro Self-Care series that has started now. When I do a mastermind, so I am setting up some masterminds that I will be doing, and you will get the replays, the recordings on the subscription. That's the only place they will go. And then I will be doing some additional coaching that you would only normally get with me if you work with me one-on-one as a coach client basis. So Yoga Nidra meditation, you can get if you subscribe to the paid versions of the podcast, or you could become a member of the Elevate Your Wellbeing membership. So it's yoga and meditation, and you get at least 1. My aim is to do 2 a month. So you get 1 at new moon, and then my aim is to get 1 up again at full moon. But at the moment, as it's relatively new, I'm sticking with the 1 a month at new moon. So you could get that there. Now, I will highlight this. Those meditations are the same. So if that's your price point, if $7.99 a month is your price point and you really enjoy the podcast and that's where you want to work with me in that essence, that's where that meditation will go. If you are a member of the Elevate Your Wellbeing membership site, that's £44 per month or whatever that is in your currency. You will get the same Yoga Nidra meditation in there, but obviously you get the yoga practices with me and lots of other things. So all the information for that is in the show notes. You can also get in touch with me. How you can do that is also in the show notes. And then the one other way that you can work with me with regards to meditation or Yoga Nidra in particular. Now, I don't do this with my one-on-one clients because I have got those resources there for people who do work with me as clients. But the other way that I do this is on retreats. And this could be a day retreat, or it could be a weekend retreat or a week-long retreat. And we always do yoga nidra because it really helps bring that element together. So these three aspects, yoga, journaling, meditation, I do on day retreats and my week-long retreats, weekend retreats. We do these practices because it helps to bring that balance of the mind, the body, and the soul together. So which of these practices do you automatically do? Have you had some where you're just on autopilot, hopefully in a good way, that these become part of who you are, that you go to them, and you might not even be aware that you're doing some of them. So a little split between meditation and yoga could be when you're moving with the breath, or you're going into breath work. That can be a form of switching that observation on of how am I feeling and how can I change that. And I really feel this is a beautiful entryway to getting to know yourself better. Now, you might pick just one of those, or you might have a go with all of those. You could work with all of those in my morning routine self-care bundle as well, which is available. I was going to say about there being an offer, but I know if this goes up, the offer would have finished because I was doing a double bank holiday weekend offer. So hopefully you had that, but if not, it's still a bargain at £33. Again, whatever that translates to in your currency. But you get 24 practices in there, and there's a variety of yoga and journaling and meditation practices, and they're each 15 minutes long. So 15 minutes, that 1% of your day, they're really quick and easy to do. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast episode just highlighting how we can become more aware of ourselves, get to know ourselves better. So grab your journal if you haven't already done so. And your prompt for this week is, how can I be more present in my mind, my body, my soul? How can I be more present in my mind, my body, my soul? I will leave you with that one, and I look forward to chatting with you next week.